we're going to go straight across to my guest, Martin. Many of you know Martin, and I know you're very excited to see Martin. I've known Martin for a long time. And Martin, I don't know how long it is. When did we first meet?
It was 1822, I believe, is when we first met. I can't remember. It must have been around 2010, 2011, somewhere around there.
Yeah. Well, I would actually say it's further back than that. It feels like forever.
Right.
It certainly for me it does. It feels forever. But it's been a long time. But I know we've shared the stage many times over the years, and it's been great fun doing exactly that. And I thought I'd have Martin on because Martin has some awesome content teaching accounting firms really how to grow their pipeline, to grow their firms. And so Martin, I'm going to hand over to you and let you do your stuff. During the course of the session, I think Martin's, Sarah's just said, ha ha ha, you've both, well, I know I've aged well. I guess Martin probably has as well. So during this course of the session, please feel free to make comments and whatever. We will ignore the comments if they're like that one, Sarah. But please make comments. I think Martin's got a couple of exercises later, so stick them in the comments box. If you have questions, then we've scheduled some time for some Q&A at the end as well. So I'll be monitoring questions. Just let me know if you've got any questions for Martin, and we'll get to those at the end. Anyway, Martin, I'm going to shut up because you're the hero of this particular session. So tell us all about sales pipelines. I can't wait to hear.
The zero of this particular session. Fantastic. Thank you, Mark. And thank you to everyone who's come along to have a look at what we're doing today as well. I hear that somebody's in from Scotland, and I'm just going to focus on them uniquely because I'm from Scotland as well. So that's the only really important person here today. So, guys, we are going to do a practical session. This session's for you. This session's to build your practice. You may have seen this many times before. You may have seen this for the first time. What's important about it is that it seems to be permanently in demand, whether it's my own practitioner community that I have or whether it's other groups that I get the opportunity to speak to. I find it's the same all over. When we find out what the greatest needs are, it comes down to how do I win grade A new fees, how do I price, and all of these types of things that we have brought solutions for previously, but implementation appears to be a real challenge. Because as practitioners, we spend so much time chasing deadlines is that we don't get the chance to be nice to us and innovate our own organization and give ourselves some lovely grade A new clients to work with. So today's practical, guys. We are going to do an exercise together. This is not a presentation from me like some sort of lecture or keynote or a traditional webinar. This is a session for us to work together on, and I'm going to be asking to see how you're getting on in this session as well. So please do participate so that we can find out and give confidence to everybody else on the call, and they can see for themselves how straightforward winning grade A new fees can be if we'll just believe in ourselves a wee bit. Okay, so let's start off by going to the slides and get straight into this. So I'm just going to go across here and start this off, and everyone I hope can see the building the pipeline slide in front of them. And so I need to put you into a mindset, guys. And the mindset I want to put you into is that this is your future. If you would have the if you would have the inclination to call yourself an advisor, and a potential client came to speak to you and said, so tell me, you're going to help me grow my business and develop my business, and how do you develop your own? Well, we don't. We kind of grow by referrals. People just come in and tell us what to do, and then we charge a low fee for it. And then, how can you be an advisor if you yourself don't forecast your own future? If you yourself aren't in control of where the money's coming from beyond the recurring fees? Now, in my 23 years of working in the profession, I've seen so many firms who have grown by accident, where they don't know, it just showed up, which from a strategic point of view, obviously, is not the greatest. So I want to put you in control of your future in this session. That's the whole point of it. We're going to do 2 parts to the exercise. Should be very straightforward. Hopefully everyone will be able to follow along. And at the end of this session, you're going to have a pipeline. You're going to know where the business is coming from, how much it is in dollar or pound or euro or whatever your currency is value, and what you've got to do next to go get it. And if that sounds good, we'll get started. So I want to make the commercial case for a pipeline for you. And here is that commercial case. Okay, if we have a look here where HF stands for high fee and LF stands for low fee, HI stands for high involvement and LI stands for low involvement. Let's take a look at what happens. Put this on a double axis graph. We love a double axis graph. Okay. Let's say we have a client where they are paying us what they would consider to be a high fee, regardless of whether we consider it to be, they consider it to be a high fee. And we don't have a lot of involvement in their business. We're not producing a lot for them beyond the compliance. We are doing what is required by law and what many business owners perceive as being a commodity. Can get it anywhere, not something they differentiate about. If you've got a client that is a high fee, as in they think that it's a high fee, but it's low involvement from you, then we're vulnerable. We're vulnerable to competitor attack because they are not seeing a huge amount of value, and we're a cheaper option to come in. It may well turn their heads. Let's look at a different option. What if they are high fee and we've got high involvement? We're making a lot of improvement in that business owner's life. In fact, you could even say that low and high involvement could equally work as low and high improvement. That we're creating a lot of improvement in that organization for a high fee as they perceive it. Well, this is our grade A. This is our grade A client. So what if we have a low fee where neither us or the client think they're paying us very much, and we don't do very much for the money either? Obviously there we have a grade D client, the very people that we complain about, the very people we would like to be rid of if we just had the guts to move them on to another accountant or bookkeeper. And that leaves, of course, what happens when we've got a low fee, but we're highly involved in the business, creating a lot of improvement for them. Well, that's dead simple. We're leaving money on the table. So what I'd like to do right now, guys, and I've got the live stream just to my left here so I can see the comments as they come in. How much of your client base, if you're being really honest with yourself, is in that grade A, top right-hand quadrant there? What percentage? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, more? How many do you really believe are grade A clients of yours based on the clients you've got, based on how I explain it there? How many high involvement, high fee clients do you have? And as those comments come in, I'm going to ask Mark to interrupt me intermittently with what he sees as perhaps the numbers coming through, or the average number. Because no matter what your number is here, guys, whether you're telling me that you've got a practice that's got 80% grade A's, which if that's the case, I don't believe you, or you've got 20% grade A's, in which case I do believe you, then whatever the balance is, whether it's 20% or 80%, those clients are in one of the other 3 categories, maybe more than one of the other 3 categories. So let's say,
some numbers are coming through, Martin. Let me know if you want the numbers.
Please go for it. Let's go. What have we got?
Yeah. Okay. So we're getting loads of numbers through now. So we started off with Neil said about 75%. Much more than norm. Simon 10%, Shalita Hall 10%, John Truss 15%, Neil Evans 30%, Sherry Putnam's 20%, Michael's 10%. Do you want me to keep going, or is that enough?
That's a perfect sample. Thank you, Mark. We've got a very honest crowd together, an audience with us today, a very honest audience. That's my experience of the consulting years, guys. That's about the right percentage. So if we go back to the slides now, have a look at this. Okay. So 10%, 15%, 20%, all numbers that I believe and are very consistent with my own findings are in the grade A, which means that 90%, 80%, 85% of your client base are either vulnerable to competitor attack, a grade D client, or you're leaving money on the table with them. That's the majority of all of your clients. And that, guys, is the commercial case for the pipeline. The pipeline gives us both an engine room to build our firm with and an insurance policy when we are victim to competitor attack, when we do want the luxury of letting a grade D client go, when we can't get the client to understand greater value and pay us more. This is what the pipeline's for, to prevent us being adversely affected by those three categories that aren't grade A. Because if we don't want to build a portfolio of grade A clients, what the hell are we doing? What's the point? See how high my voice went when I said, what the hell are we doing? Yeah? If it's not all about building the greatest portfolio that we can create the greatest improvement for and live our most noblest iteration of our technical qualifications, then what's the point? What are we doing? Marking time? Surely that's your goal. Surely that's where you're trying to get to. So let's make some serious practical provisions to get you there. Let's move things forward to the actual pipeline. Now, I've been around long enough, guys, to know this, that there are only 7 avenues where new business comes from for an accounting or a bookkeeping practice. And over the many years, many audience members have tried to catch me out and go, I thought of an 8th, Martin. And invariably, when they name it, it circumscribes into one of the other 7. I see it as 7 avenues. What we're going to do, guys, together, is I'm going to paint the picture for you of what these 7 avenues are. What I would like you to do is to start making your list. A pipeline is more than a list, but I want you to start making your list, please, straight away. So that at the end of these 7 avenues, I'm going to ask you to total up what you've got. It doesn't matter what your number is. Don't worry about it. It matters that you've got a starting point. So if you're ready, let's go and work through the 7 avenues of where your future new business is coming from. Here we go. So I call this the pipeline compass. Where do we look for new business that could be grade A or at the very worst case, grade B for us? Well, we start, guys, in the obvious place. Current clients. Here's what I want you to do, please. On anything that you record information on, whether you are writing on a piece of paper, whether you're typing notes on a screen, or whether you are using a marker on your hand, whatever it happens to be, I would like you now, please, to think of 1 or 2, only 1 or 2 of your current clients, where you honestly believe, hand on heart, that they need more support from you than they currently buy from you, and they would welcome a conversation. So let's say that I am your client, and we say, okay, we work with Martin, it's great, we have a good working relationship, but that guy should be forecasting, and he's not forecasting. And I know he wants to get places in his business, so I'm going to call him up and I'm going to ask him how he feels about having a conversation based around forecasting. So I want you guys to name now, not on the screen, not on your chat, not on the notes on this live stream, but to yourself privately, 1 or 2 current clients that you honestly believe you can help more than you currently do. Okay? Don't worry just yet about anything else. Just name them. And if you can't think of their name, as many people can't in the moment, Steve's dad. Just write down Steve's dad. That's fine. That's fine. I just want you to name them. Just 1 or 2. After this broadcast, I'm going to ask you to repeat this whole process without me and go for a much deeper dive than we're going for in this hour. But for now, 1 or 2 current clients that you believe you could help a lot more than you currently do, and they would welcome a conversation about it. Now, if you can't name 1 or 2 from your current client base, there's a big red flag waving in your face about your current client base, because there are always more opportunities. Now, hopefully now you've got the 2 names, the 1 or 2 names. Now, next to those 1 or 2 names, I'd like you to write down, please, what it is that you believe you can do to help. Is it management information? Is it migration to cloud? Is it forecasting? Or is it something else? What is the service? Is it tax planning? What is the service? What is the support that you can provide that you're thinking of right now for these 1 or 2 current clients? And when you've written that down, at a conservative estimate, how much would you charge? Now, I assume that many of you, if not all of you, are involved in Mark's Value Pricing Academy, so you guys should have some incredible numbers here. But all you should see in front of you is your 1 or 2 names of your current clients, 1 or 2 services that you want to support them with, and 1 or 2 numbers that you believe you could realistically obtain for carrying out that work. And assuming everybody's okay with that and understands that process, I'm going to take you to avenue number 2 with the exact same questions. Now I want you to think about your ex-clients, the clients that are no longer with you. And when you think about your ex-clients, what I don't want you to do is to think about the clients that you were so pleased to see the back of that you held a champagne party to celebrate their departure when they left. Not them, but which ex-clients are you sorry to have lost? Which ex-clients did you drop the ball on? You shouldn't have lost them, but something went wrong. And I've told the same story on this particular avenue every time, guys. So anybody who's heard me do this before will have heard this story before. There is a firm 35 miles away from where I'm speaking to you right now. They were at the time a 4-partner firm. And I sat down with the managing partner and we went through this process, and he printed out for me an entire client list. And at the end was a series of about 18 or 20 names that said LOC next to them. That was the code that was next to them. And I said to him, "Oh, Andrew, what are these?" He said, "Oh, those are the clients we've lost, Martin." I went, I get it. Right, so LOC, loss of client. He went, "No, Martin, LOC, lack of cuddling. There was no need to lose them. We didn't get close enough. They felt neglected. They found a new home to go to." That was us dropping the ball. And he had 18 to 20 of them. So those are the ones I'm referring to here, guys, and I'm asking you to think about. Can you name me 1 or 2, again, privately to yourself, not on screen, 1 or 2 ex-clients that you would love to have back if you could? And that if you reached out to them to find out where they're at now, they would take a call from you. And if you can name 1 or 2 ex-clients, then I would ask you to simply name those and to put next to them, never mind the service line this time, put next to them the value that you used to charge them. Because at the very least, if we were to able to resuscitate any of these relationships, it would at the very least be at the figure that we used to charge them. If you find that that's too low and you say, "Well, I'd never take them back at more than double what they were on when they left," then great, go for that number. It's completely in your control. You choose the numbers. I'm just pointing you towards the avenues. That's all I'm doing. So 1 or 2 current clients, 1 or 2 ex-clients is what we're looking for right here. And I'm just going to give you a moment to make sure that's all written down before I go to avenue 3 of 7. Avenue 3 of 7 is ex-prospects. This is where you've had a meeting in person or remotely, and you've discussed the possibility of working together with a business owner. The business owner has considered the possibility of leaving their current accountant or bookkeeper to move to you for whatever reason. But ultimately, that hasn't happened. They've either said no to you, or they've used the British no, which is pronounced maybe. It means no, but it doesn't sound like it. Maybe. Now, for some reason, they've chosen not to come across to you. Maybe they've chosen to do nothing at all and stay where they are. But we don't know, because at the moment at the moment we lost contact with them, we have no idea what they've done since. Can you name me, please, 1 or 2 ex-prospects that you would like to have won, you haven't yet won for whatever reason, and you would enjoy a second bite of the cherry, as the phrase goes, to speak to them again and see where they're up to now. 1 or 2. And if you happen to remember the amounts you quoted at the time, please quote those on your list here that we're making. And if you're not sure, then go conservative and go low. And I'll explain why I'm asking you to go low in a little while. And I'll give you a second to catch up with that while we go to Avenue 4. So that's X prospects, people you talk to, maybe quoted, maybe put a proposal in front of their decision makers, and for whatever reason, you have not received a decision, or they chose not to decide, or they went with someone else a couple of years ago, whatever it was. But you would like a second go at them if you could. Now, don't worry if you can't find 1 or 2 in every one of these categories. Just do the best you can. Your 4th avenue from 7 is current prospects. Who are you talking to right now? Who were you on the verge of bringing on board and they had to delay because of COVID? Who are you about to have a meeting with over the next 4 to 6 weeks? I'd like you to list, please, your best 1 or 2 current prospects. And if you're as far as a quotation or proposal at this stage and you know the figure, then put that there. And if you don't know the figure, then make a conservative estimate, please. I keep saying low and conservative to you so that we don't overinflate our true potential from new business here. Because once we know the strength of these 7 avenues, we know exactly how much effort we need to put into marketing. If we're sat on a couple of 100,000 and our growth goal this year is 100,000, there's not a lot of need for marketing. There's a lot of need to sort our pipeline out. But if we have 15,000 in our pipeline at the end of this, and our growth goal is 100,000, then we've got to start investing in some marketing because our pipeline is too dry. So I'm asking for 1 or 2 right now, but I'm going to ask you to do a deeper dive by yourself where you'll see the true value of your pipeline, and then you'll know just exactly how close to your growth goals your existing opportunities bring you. So this one is current prospects. Who are you talking to right now? Who have you just paused conversations with? Who are you revisiting over the next month or so? What have you got going on right now? 1 or 2 names, please, and the figures next to them. If you know them, great. If you don't know them, be conservative. Okay, our 5th from 7 is where I use a different term than the one you would recognize. It's called centers of influence. You will probably know it as referral sources. So why don't I just call it referral sources? Because centers of influence stretches further than referral sources. Normally, we think of referral sources as maybe the bank, maybe our financial advisor, maybe the lawyer, and maybe the local business network of some kind, perhaps. And then throw in the current clients. And there's typical referral sources. By saying centers of influence, I want you to go a stage further with this. So by centers of influence, what I'd like you to do is to think in terms of who is influential in your local business community. So who can you really talk to that can open doors for you? Is it the local MP, for example? Is it the local restaurant owner, for example? Who knows business owners in your area? So here's what I want you to do. Please, could you write down a center of influence that you already have? What is a referral source that you already have right now? And next to them, could you please put down the sort of value of what they normally refer? So if it's the bank, for example, everyone they send us is about $2,000, Martin. Okay, fine, 2,000 it is. So put bank, 2,000. Then I want you to think about an influencer that you should know in your local area that you don't know, and that you should have a relationship with, but you don't have a relationship with. And next to them, I want you to put the figure that's the same as the one above it, the referral one. So if your existing referral is the bank, 2,000, then say this new one, once I get it, will also be at least as good as that 2,000. And hopefully that makes sense. So just two names here, one an existing referrer and one somebody who should be a referrer for you, and the same figure besides them both. And that's centers of influence. Think beyond. Does the restaurant owner know all the local businesses? Can they signpost you? Can they open doors for you? Can the mayor do it? Can the local political representative do it? Can the newspaper editor do it? Who can do it? Who can help you open doors? Is it the Chamber of Commerce? Is it the Breakfast Network? Who is it? Okay, and then our penultimate one, guys, so our 6th of 7, is wish list. I want you to go crazy now, but not that crazy. Who would you love to work for? Who in your area could you really serve? What business would you name that you would love to act for and that you've got a realistic chance of acting for, that you have a value proposition that they would be interested in? Locally here, guys, as an organization, and given that this is going to be replayed, I better not name who they are, but they are in the business of manufacturing building materials. They're a family-owned business, they're a growth business, they have every award under the sun, and they're everyone's idea of a grade A client. Because they need so much. They don't just need compliance, they need forecasting, they need funding. They need what we would call, in the broadest term, advisory across the board. Who's your wish list? And as you think about that, I'll tell you that I was once on stage. It might have been a time when I was on the stage with Mark, actually. And when I went with wish list, somebody in the crowd wrote down Microsoft. Now, I applaud the ambition, but I also pity the stupidity. So not that big, but somebody who is perhaps in your local area, a local business with lots of potential. Who would you name? One or two of those, please. List them and put a value next to them. Thinking, well, if I only did forecasting with them, Martin, it would be $5,000. Great. Off you go. So list them. You might as well this time list what you could do for them as well. And what would you charge for that? And now we go to our final one. Guys, this is the weakest of all the avenues. This is the one that you're most likely to strike out on. This is X inquiries. This category or avenue is about all those people who sent you an email or used your web form to inquire about you or dropped you a line on social media saying, can we talk? And you called them and you missed them, and they called you and they missed you, and then you emailed them and you got no response, and then they emailed you a bit later and it went into your spam. And for whatever reason, they've expressed interest, but you've never got to speak to them. And the reason why I use this 7th category or avenue is because it's a catch-all. Generally, there's nothing here, and you won't find anything when I ask you to name one or two here. But there are odd times when firms do, and that's why I include it. I'll give you an example. I was working with a firm in New Jersey, and we were going through this process, and this 7th avenue came up, and straight away, Mike, one of the partners, sent, "Oh, the lawn tennis club," and I went, "Okay." And this was on a video call, and so he goes away from the screen, and he goes to his filing cabinet at the other end of his office, and he pulls out this piece of paper that has the original phone message attached to it to go, "The lawn tennis club. We've been trying to get hold of them for over 18 months, and we can never reach them. And it's never the right time." And I said to Mike, "Okay, Mike, we're going to call them now." He's like, "Now? What do you mean?" So I mean now. He's like, "What, you mean like now?" I was like, You're getting there. Well done. Yes, now." So he picks up the phone while I'm still on the video call, and he says, "What am I going to say?" And I said, "You're going to say hi, and you're going to follow that up with, how are you doing? And then you're going to shut up and listen to whatever they've got to say." He's like, "Oh, I don't know if I can do this." I was like, "I don't care if you think you can do it. You can do it, and you're going to do it. Let's go." Because I have fun with my clients this way. So while on this video call, Mike makes the call to the lawn tennis club, gets hold of the owner, is having the conversation, and is then making faces to me on the video call because I'm based in England. And he's going, what do I say? What do I say? And he keeps gesturing towards me. What do I say? What do I do? And I'm scribbling down things on a piece of paper and holding them up to the camera. Say this next. Now, I wouldn't be telling you this story if it didn't have a happy ending. The phone call ended in a meeting, and the meeting ended in them coming on board as a client. Is that the golden fairy tale that will always happen all the time? Of course it's not. But you don't want to miss out on a few $1,000s just in case, or a few £1,000s just in case. So X inquiries, guys. Can you name me one or two such people where you've wanted to talk to them, you haven't got round to it, they've inquired, you missed each other, whatever, you're playing phone tennis now. And if you can name those one or two, just put in 1,000, just going very, very low. We've no idea what they're worth. We don't want to overvalue it. We've no idea if it's still a prospect or not. So let's go very conservative there, 1,000. Just put 1,000 there as an arbitrary figure to give us something to calculate. Hey guys, that is your 7 avenues right now. You've got them. We're about to work on the lowest hanging fruit first. I'm about to show you how you now calculate which ones to spend your chargeable time, if you have chargeable time, going after right now. But before I do, there's 2 things we've got to do. Number 1, what I would like you to do now, please, is I would like you to tot up all those 7 avenues. You might have as many as 14 opportunities here. You might have 5 or 6. But add up your figure, please. What is the total value of opportunity that you have been able to identify for your firm in the last 15 minutes of your life? And then when you've got that total figure, guys, can you put it into the comments? And again, I'm going to ask Mark to interrupt me and read out some of the comments, some of the figures that we get as a result of that. Please don't be embarrassed. It doesn't matter what the number is. It just matters that that's the number you're working from as a starting point. So I'm going to give you a moment here to calculate this and to start putting the figures in. And I'm going to ask Mark to let me know when he starts seeing the figures on screen. And now, in the meantime, I will do a recap. 7 avenues, 1 or 2 names for the benefit of this process in this session today, but a much deeper dive when you get hold of your files and have a look at all those names you've forgotten about over the years. I would go back as far as 5 years, guys, in the full deep dive to build your true pipeline. A lot of these will get weeded out very quickly as you start to make contact with them. But nevertheless, you don't want to miss any opportunity. So that's 7 avenues, 1 or 2 opportunities in each, conservative estimates on pricing. What are your numbers now? Mark, do we have any numbers coming through as yet on this?
Not yet, Martin, but I'm conscious that there's about a 7-second delay between YouTube and you talking, so they're probably still just grabbing their calculators and adding up a few bits and pieces. That
is generally what happens. Yes, there is generally a lull in this period where everybody goes, okay, so.
But actually, Neil O'Brien is the first one again to come in. So Neil says, and there's a few coming in now. So we have Neil says, let's see, what's it? Yeah, 275,000 from Neil.
Thank you, Neil.
And a very different number with Gary Wong from San Francisco Bay Area. He's got 10. I'm assuming that's 10,000 rather than $10. I don't know.
Yeah, I think 10,000. Yes, I think.
Oh. Okay. That's it. Oh, hang on. No, there's loads more coming through. So, Alan, they're all flooding in now. Alan Brown from the UK, 35,000. That's in pounds. We also have. Okay, Alison did say sold my practice in January, so she's starting from a new location, and so she's. But anyway, she's put 12,000.
Okay.
How many do you want me to do, Martin? I can keep going. There's
just maybe 3 more, Mark, would be great, please.
3 more. Okay. Sherry says 25,000. That'll be in dollars. Simon says 15,000. Oh, hang on. I got Gary Wong wrong. That was 10 contacts. $300,000 from Gary, not $10.
Thank you, Gary.
So there's a bit of a difference there. And one more, just one final one. And Tammy Lay said 12,000 in Canadian dollars per month.
So 144,000 a year. Okay. So that's great, guys. Thank you very, very much for that. So you can see that in just 3 of our audience, we have in different currencies the better part of $750,000 there. I have never ever done this process with any audience of any size and failed to get into 6 figures. Generally, I get into 7 figures. If I knew everyone's results from this process just now, I'm comfortably able to predict that we would be well into the 7 figures. We normally are. But just 3 there took us close to $750,000. So you can see the opportunities of different types of likelihood of what actually coming on board, but you can see what you're sat on already. And yet everyone says, how do I win clients? How do I win clients? Well, start with what you've got, because you're sat on a gold mine. And even for those who have 10 or 12 or 15,000, that's still a good starting point, guys. And therefore, you still have the opportunity to say, right, my growth goal is X. With Martin, I've just identified Y. The difference is Z. My marketing now needs to produce Z. I understand it. I get it. That's as difficult as this gets, guys. So the other thing I know from experience is that you're going to enjoy this session and then you're going to forget about it and go back to your lives and your worlds. And what did he say was the thing? What was that 4th category? And what did he say about that? So just for this session and just for this audience and for nobody else anywhere at any time, we have created a little bundle for you, okay? And that little bundle is a series of instructional videos that includes this exercise of building the pipeline, but also Mark's on it as well. And Mark makes some cameo appearances from some content we produced a little while ago. And this doesn't exist anywhere else. You're the first to hear about it. You're the only ones to hear about it. It's a little bundle I've put together. It is $99. I will admit that. But if this will help you take your practice to the next stage, I'm going to ask you to make that investment. Mark's going to put the link, or Sarah might put the link in, or somebody will put the link in as to where you can find this. Again, it was created just for this event, so I'm going to let people see the replay of this. So I'll probably leave it up until maybe Sunday, something like that. But it's not part of my product catalog, so it's not something that's going on sale generally. It's just for this particular event. So if that's something that you can take a look at, and having taken a look at it, feel that you will benefit from it to the value of $99 or greater, then I ask you to invest in it accordingly. It's Mark's content. Maybe about 10% of Mark is in there, and the rest is me, including this process that you are seeing done today. All right, guys, let's get to the important second stage now. Get your 7 avenues. We are going to qualify them. Now, just to be really difficult, okay, I am going to ask you to make your list all over again, but not with the different names, with the same names. But I'm going to show you a system to allow you to prioritize and manage the process of sale for these prospects. And it's called the accounts mnemonic. And it's a registered trademark that I have. So what I'm going to do in a few minutes is I'm going to ask you to make that list all over again. And then we're going to actually score your prospects on how likely they are to come on board with you at the prices you've quoted, and what you need to do to give yourself the maximum possible chance of winning these prospects. So I'm just going to take you through what these letters all stand for, and then we'll go through the exercise. So you can relax for a moment, just keep your eyes on the screen, but then it's time to pick up your pencil and pen again, or your keyboard again, and it's time to create. So here we go. Each of these letters gives your prospect a score that is 1/8. Okay, so these are questions that you ask yourself about your prospect. So let's say we've got a prospect called Bissett Engineering. I don't know where I came out with that from. And you've been to see Bissett Engineering, whether they are an ex-client or a current client or a current prospect or whatever they are. You've been to see Bissett Engineering. And the first question that I ask you to ask yourself is, knowing Bissett Engineering as I now do I have the answer to this business's issues? Do I have the solution? Can I solve their problems? If you can, you score yourself a 10. Don't do it yet. If you cannot, you clearly can't help them, it's a 0. Nothing in between. No 5, no 2.5, no 7.4444. Recurring, 0 or 10. It's binary. 0 or 10, 0 or 10. Those are your only options. If you can help them, it's a 10, and if you can't, it's a 0. Now, unusually, and this is the only one this applies to, if you score a 0 here, get rid of the prospect. If you don't have the answer for them, do not waste their time. So I'm going to assume that it's a 10 for just about everyone you've listed in this first segment. The second question I'm going to ask you to ask yourself is, can they afford me? Do they have the cash at the amount I want? So if you've written down $5,000 or $10,000, the question you now have to say is, can they afford me at $5,000? Can they afford me at $10,000? Do I know that money's available? If it is, score yourself a 10. If you think they're going to have a problem funding you, score it a 0. If you don't know, also score it a 0, because we're only things we know come into play in the accounts system. Your third question is convince. Apart from the people I've spoken to in this business, is there anybody else in decision-making capacity that I need to convince to come on board with us? So, for example, that might be a silent partner or a director you haven't met yet that's got a shareholding, or it could even be an influential person that doesn't have a fancy title in the organization, but maybe the executive PA to the CEO is married to the CEO, and therefore, if the CEO is a she and the executive PA is a he, then you might have to talk to him because he influences her and her decision making as CEO. But do you have anyone else you've got to convince? Okay, if you do have other people to convince, it's a 0. I can't count this one yet. I've got other people to convince. If there is nobody else and you have got every decision maker, even if that's only one decision maker, score it a 10. 10 or 0. 10 or 0 every single time. Is there anybody else in this business I've got to convince? No, I've got everybody. Great, it's a 10. Yes, there's other people. It's a 0. Now, this next one, this O, stands for others. I'm trying to win this work from this prospect. Are others? I know they've got an accountant already or a bookkeeper already, but I'm not counting them because they're the incumbent. They've already won the work. Is there anybody else? Am I in a race? Am I in a beauty parade? Have I responded to a request for tender, for example? Is there anybody else in the race that I'm competing against to win this work? If there is nobody else and there's only me trying to win this work away from the current accountant, it's a 10. If there are others and I'm in a beauty parade, it's a 0. Again, don't worry about capturing any of this, guys. I'll show you how this works in the next slide. The U stands for undertake, which means, do I want this work? Do I want to undertake this relationship? Do I want to undertake this assignment? Do I want to undertake this project? That's simple. Either yes, you do, or no, you don't. If you want it, it's grade A or grade B to you, score 10. And if you think it's going to be a pain in the backside, score it a 0. That one's a simple one. Next is necessity. Okay? Necessity. This means, does the prospect, Bissett Engineering, do they see the need to do something with somebody? Okay, and if we've done well in meeting with them previously, we'll have created need and opportunity and urgency within them. So are they keen to do something? Are they keen to make a change? Even if they're nervous about it, do they want to do it? Okay, so that's not do you think they want to, it's that have they told you that they see the necessity to change from their current provider? If they see the need, it's a 10. If they don't, and you've got more convincing to do, it's a 0. The T is for timing. Now, please hear me on this one. This one is the most misunderstood one. The question that you ask yourself is, do you have the timing of the next meeting in your calendar, in your schedule, in your diary with this prospect? Not, did they say they were going to send the books through over the next couple of days? Not, did you promise to email them after a week? Not that, that's too weak. Do you have the next meeting? And if you're in a place where you can meet in person, that means in person. And if you're in a place where that means you meet remotely, that means remotely. If you don't have the next meeting to talk about your relationship in your calendar, it's a 0. And of course, in this case, because we're doing this for the first time, most of these things that you've just written down in your list will be zeros at this point. But if you have got the meeting, it's a 10. And then finally, signatory. The final S stands for signatory. Are you talking to the person who can sign this off? Now, eagle-eyed viewers will notice that there might be a conflict between convince, I've got all the decision makers, and signatory. Well, Martin, if I've got all the decision makers, of course I've got the signatory. Of course I've got the person who can do the deal. Of course I've got the person who can say yes. Why have you duplicated this? And the answer is because some of you will be dealing with subsidiaries. Some of you will be dealing with organizations where decision-making power lies somewhere else. And maybe you're working with the subsidiary in Frankfurt right now, but the decision-making power lies in Panama. Okay? So this is a catch-all again, a second catch-all, like the X inquiries was, to make sure that if it is that they can make a decision locally, but through some bizarre company structure, as somebody else somewhere else has to sign the documents, then make sure you've got that. And if you haven't got the signatory, you know you need to get a meeting with the signatory. So guys, that's how the accounts mnemonic works. Here's how I want you to build out your pipeline after this session, watching the replay or using the fee accelerator bundle that we mentioned a minute ago. Your pipeline should end up looking something like this in the end. I'll take you through it stage by stage. The first column on the left is the name. That's your prospect. The next column is the grade of opportunity you think it is. That's up to you. You grade that however you see fit, A, B, C, or D. Obviously, you're going to organize your spreadsheet by the A's and B's first. Under service, you're putting in what you think you can do to support them or provide improvement for them. Remember, high involvement, high improvement is grade A. Then your estimated value, and then your account scores. Now, if you look at this one for company A, this one reads as follows. I've got the answer for their problems. They can afford me at 18,000. They've got the cash. There's no one else I've got to convince. I've got all the decision makers. There's only me in the race. There are no others in the race for this. So I scored that a 10. I want the job. So that undertake, that I scored that a 10. But I'm not sure how urgent they are. I'm not sure how much of a rush they're in. So I've scored that a 0. However, I have got the timing of the next meeting in my calendar. So that's a 10. But it is a subsidiary. And the parent company does have to sign it off, even though the subsidiary can make the decision. So it is a 0 on signatory because I haven't spoken to the signatory yet. So on that basis, the account score can only ever come to 80% because there's no such thing as a 100% chance of winning something. If you have a 100% chance of winning something, it's already a client. Okay, otherwise things can go wrong. So we only ever forecast an 80% likelihood or probability because anything more would be foolish. And therefore, you can see where your zeros are. So if this was an interactive session where you were talking to me, you'd say, well, Martin, to make this into the strongest possible prospect, then you've got to get that signatory in front of you, and you've got to make sure there's some urgency in there. This is the necessity of working with you. And I'd say, you're right. That would turn it from a 60% likelihood to an 80% likelihood, which is the maximum. And then you would learn that growing your accounting practice or your bookkeeping practice is a game of tens and zeros, guys. That's all it is. Tens and zeros. That's the game you're playing. So this column that says TV, it stands for true value. So I haven't got a 100% chance of winning that 18,000, so I can't forecast 18,000 because I don't have a 100% chance. I've currently got a 60% chance of winning this. So the true value right now is 14,800. And I can only get it up to 80% anyway. So I'm going to look at that column to see what's likely to come in total. When you put them all together, what am I likely to win? I'm likely to win 60% of these prospects. So what's the 60% calculation? Then in the penultimate column, you see that it says September. So I know that if I can get that meeting with that signatory and I can get them really excited about working with me, they can make a decision in September. I can build this in September. I can forecast this income starting in September. And what have I got to do next? Next action is to write a proposal. And guys, that is as complex as winning grade A new fees is from your practice's perspective. You have walked with me through the 7 avenues. You have walked with me through the accounts mnemonic. And you now know how the whole thing looks and plays out, and no doubt you've been screenshotting and taking pictures of the screen right now. This is all you need to do. So why don't firms do it? Why has this been my major one-hit wonder piece of content for 20 odd years? Because this session ends and you go back to your inbox to find that a client's crying about something, and you go and help them out, and then you make sure that other client is dealt with by the deadline, and then you go into deadline mania, the deadline death trap, and you never get round to being nice to yourself and giving yourself time to actually grow your own firm with the kind of prospects you would want to. Another reminder, guys, is that this is also how you tell how much marketing you need. If your growth goal is $250,000 and you're sitting on 275,000, okay, let's take a look. Let's take a look. There might not be much need for marketing here, but maybe there is. Maybe your pipeline is dry and we need to get new inquiries coming through. So take it to one more slide as before we close here. Both Mark and I refer to Ron Baker. And Ron Baker, of course, who is probably the godfather of value pricing, in his 2003 book, Firm of the Future, laid out this map here of a professional service firm, that it was revenue-based, and that revenue was based on the way you could manage your capacity, how efficient you were, and your cost-plus pricing model. And that if you ever want to get out of that, I mean, you'll survive, you'll be okay. But if you ever want to move from surviving to thriving, you're going to have to become a professional knowledge firm where it's the outcomes and the improvement you create that the price is based upon. Obviously, I won't go too much into detail into that because that's what you're with Mark for. But what I will say is that that's very hard to do if you don't know who your prospects are and you haven't qualified them and you don't know what your message is to them. And that's where the pipeline comes in. So marketing creates need, pipeline turns it into money, and then the way in which you work with the client turns it into more pipeline and more need. So just that reminder again, guys, the Fee Accelerator package is only available to the people on this call and the replayers until Sunday night. It doesn't exist anywhere else. The link, I'm hoping, is somewhere in the notes or in the chat today. And take a look at that to see if that's okay for you to get things moving. It's a low level of investment. I hope it is. And if it's not, don't worry about it. It's fine. But with that, I shall close off. And Mark, let's go to questions there.
Okay, Martin, awesome. At the moment, I did put a post a little while ago just saying any questions, because there aren't any questions yet. But I have a question, and I'll ask that in a second. But I can see Neil says, thanks very much for great info. He has another call now. Great to see you, Neil. Anyway, if anyone has a question, stick it in the comments box. I will keep an eye on that and read out any questions that we have. I suppose my question, Martin, was when you went through the accounts and the scoring process, which I find fascinating, and I really like the point that you made about the reason for a percentage is that there's no such thing as 100%. There's no certainty. Just what's some of the science behind that scoring system? I'm guessing it's based on all your experience and knowledge from doing this for decades now. But what is some of the science behind it? Why those particular categories?
It's all based on the things that you can control. And the reason why it only adds up to 80% is because there are things out with our control at any time. If the prospect was about to go bust, that's out of our control. If there's a family emergency or crisis within the business, that's out of our control. So I found the most commonly occurring factors in a process of sale, as it applies to an accounting or bookkeeping practice, that you can control every single time, that you are not at the mercy of. And those, it happened to be 8, which thank goodness it's not 7 like everything else is, but it happened to be 8. And those are all ways that you can come away from a meeting with a prospect or a conversation with a prospect, and you either can have asked them directly, or you can remember that you don't know the answers and need to ask them directly next time. But that means that then you say, okay, so I know I can control 8 factors in a 10-factor process, let's say. I know I can control 8, so how many have I got control of? And one thing I would say to everybody is, if when you are doing this scoring system on the prospects that you found today, and you find anything is 40 or below, so less than half, I would just get rid of it. There are so many missing pieces. It's going to take you so long to get to the point where it's strong. That's a weak prospect. I would take those onto perhaps a substitutes bench and put them in the subs bench for when your pipeline gets dry, and maybe you can work them up over time, but focus very much on anything that's 60 plus. Anything you've got that's 60 plus, you're in control of, you're almost there, you've got a very good chance of winning this work. Don't let it pass you by. Don't let it slip through your fingers.
Great. And I think one of the key things, and you said it there, one of the key messages that I got out of this, and certainly a big weakness when I was running my accounting firm many years ago, is it's really all about creating some laser-like focus on where to direct your energies. I remember when I was running my accounting firm, I was too distracted by the marketing and trying to get more people coming at the top of the funnel, but I wasn't following up. There was no focus on the follow-up process, and if they didn't say yes straight away, I'd move on to the next one.
It would be akin to you and I, Mark, in our younger years, seeing someone beautiful that we'd love to take to dinner, taking them to dinner, saying, I'll call you, and never speaking to them again. You know, that person that we took to dinner would think, well, clearly they're not interested, and clearly they're not particularly impressive anyway. And you wouldn't do that. If that was somebody that you were besotted with, you would make every effort to make sure that you were front of mind in their life at all times. And this is the same. To use a very old-fashioned word, this is a courting process. You are trying to explain to a prospect why their life and business is better served than with their current incumbent. Not that the current incumbent has got anything wrong with them, just that you are an upgrade or improvement upon them, which is why I always prefer the word better to the word different. Differentiation can mean that you're worse. You can be different by being worse. But if you're better, as in a better fit for them, and you can help them to see that, your conversion ratio goes like that. Awesome.
Okay, we do have another question come in from Nancy Jacobson. Nancy says, can you please go over a bit more about what's in the course bundle?
Certainly, Nancy. So we have the pipeline content that you've seen today, and then we have a tutorial of what goes after that. So what happens when you've got to make contact with the prospect? What happens when they say you're too expensive? What happens between first and second meetings? What happens when you've got to write the proposal? What should go into it? How do you come up with the price? Now, obviously, that last one probably not quite as important given how much work you do with Mark, but you get the general idea. So this is an overview on those 8 things that you can control. So what you've got is coaching from myself and some cameos from Mark on controlling the process of sale. So starting off with building the pipeline and making sure you've got that right, and then it picks up from where that or today's session leaves off. Now what do I do? And that video process takes you through the now what do you do, in what order, why it's in that order, and how do we control a prospect from initial inquiry all the way through to fee-paying client. That's what's in the bundle.
Awesome. Thanks for the clarification. I think that might be the only question that we've got. Just giving it a few seconds to see if any more questions come in, but that might be. I'm going to assume that's the last one. But if anyone comes in at the last minute, we can deal with that. So Martin, that was awesome. I know I've heard it a few times before. It's such a powerful process, and one that I wish I did And I just want, final question that was going through my mind was, okay, so having then done that exercise, I have my spreadsheet, I've done the exercise, I've identified the ones to focus on. You've said ignore those that are less than 40% because there's too many things that you've got to work on. How often do you carry on doing that exercise? Is it a one-off exercise, or is this something that you should repeat on a monthly basis? What's your advice there?
This is going to sound like a really facetious answer, but I'm being deadly serious, okay? It's depending on how serious you are about reaching your goals. Because I can show you firms who've done it once and it never saw the light of day ever again. I can show you firms who hold pipeline meetings on Mondays and Fridays. I can show you firms that get very obsessed and spend not every day, but maybe 2 or 3 days of the week looking at where their opportunities are coming from. It is completely dependent upon just how serious you are about achieving these goals. Because you know at the start when we said these 3 other categories, if you're not grade A, you're in one of these other 3 or maybe a combination of these 3. Well, that should scare you. That was designed to scare you guys. It's supposed to scare you. It scares me. You know, it was designed to make you go, no, that can't happen. I will not let that happen to my practice. I've come too far. I've worked too hard. I have to make this work. And what I want everyone on this call to do is to imagine what happens when you do hit your growth goal. So hitting the growth goal is the objective. That's lovely. What's the outcome? What changes in your life as a practitioner? What changes in your firm? What does that allow you to do that you couldn't do up until now? And focus on that. And the more you focus on how hitting your growth goal will improve your life, you'll be far more inclined to look at that pipeline to find out how you improve other people's.
Great. We have another couple of questions just come in. Suzanne actually says, great session, and just says, could we share the link again? Suzanne, the link, you're on the Facebook page, the link is in the comments, so it should be there, but I will ask my team if they can perhaps share it one more time. Then we have just a quick reminder for Simon, because he wasn't quite sure, how did you get Martin from the 14,800 or to the 14,800 when it was 18,000?
Yeah, and that question comes up a lot, Simon. So what happens is that the figure that you may have chosen for your prospect, you think it's worth, let's go with something easier, 10,000. Okay, and let's say it's a $10,000, pound, whatever prospect. When you go through that accounts process, it shows you that you don't have a 100% chance of winning that. So you can't forecast 10,000 because you don't have a 100% chance of winning 10,000. So you forecast the percentage chance you do have of winning it. And what that does is it dilutes that 10,000 down to a 50, 60, 70, whatever your score is on accounts, percent likelihood. So that when you come to add up this, you're saying, okay, I have got $100,000 worth of opportunity here. Having scored it through the accounts mnemonic, it actually comes out at 70,000. So I would be far more prudent in my practice and my growth plans to forecast that £70,000 worth of growth, because altogether I will probably win 70,000 out of this 100,000 because other things won't go my way. So it's a true value designed to give you a actual forecastable figure of what's probably going to happen as a total, not as it applies to that individual prospect.
Absolutely. Great explanation, Martin. We have a couple more come in. One, I think for me, Matthew O'Hara just says he missed the start. Will it be recorded for VPA members? Yes, Matthew, we'll get you the recording, don't worry. Question, it's not so much a question, but I think it is, from Janine over in Saskatoon. She's fairly new in business, just started, and so she's guessing this will be a good use for each new prospect that comes my way. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, certainly. So Janine, on this, I would say 2 things. You know, is it a good thing for you to do on each prospect that comes your way? Answer 1, yes, it is. Or if you prefer, answer 2, yes, it is. Okay, choose either of those answers that you prefer, Janine. But yeah, please take your new business very seriously. Okay, accountants and bookkeepers spend so long trying to escape this recurring trap of, I've got to work with the referrals that came in. They came from the client. I feel obliged to, but it's not exactly what I want to do, not at the price I exactly want. And this trap lived on to the length of my career, and I'm sure a lot longer than that. So if you can take each prospect that comes your way, Janine, has a gold nugget that counts towards your future. And you take it very, very seriously, because it's another brick in this building that you're making of your future practice, of your future life, of what you've got and what you're building. Even as far as a legacy, then if you take it that seriously, then yeah, of course. This is the process for every prospect that comes your way, sure.
Fantastic. Thank you, Martin. I think that is the end of the questions. But if anyone thinks of any more questions, stick them in the comments box and I'll forward them on to Martin afterwards. But I think we'll probably bring things to an end now. So thank you for that.